Let me bring in Congressman Raul Labrador of Idaho, a conservative in the House, Tea Party supported. Congressman, welcome back, and let me have you weigh in on this particular issue. Why shouldn't this be seen a different way, which is the Obama administration making a real and credible concession to the business community to make sure that this is implemented in a thorough and effective way?
Well, that's what the Obama administration wants you to believe. I think they want you to think that they're listening to the business owners, and I think you can give them a little bit of credit for that. But the question is, what part of Obamacare actually works? Because if you look at, they've already had to concede on other points that Obamacare is not working. Now they have to do it on the employer mandate. And pretty soon I think they're going to have some questions about the individual mandates. There's nothing about this law that is working in the United States. All businesses are concerned. And it was interesting to listen to Senator Menendez say that this portion of the law was only going to affect about 1% of the businesses. Why is it that Democrats and this administration thought that it was necessary for them to create a law that was actually going to affect 1% of the businesses when most businesses with 50 people and plus were actually providing insurance to their employees?
Let me ask you about immigration. President Bush, former President Bush, is expected to speak about immigration reform this coming week. He could be a very strong voice within the Republican Party after the Senate has passed immigration reform to put pressure on the House. How will you respond to that? And do you think we're going to get a bill in the end out of the House?
You know, I hope we're going to get a bill. I think immigration reform is necessary. As you know, I have been negotiating on immigration reform now for some time. But my concern with the Senate bill is that they put the legalization of 11 million people ahead of security. The legalization happens first, and then the security happens second. And I think the American people are not going to stand for that. In fact, if you look at this Obamacare debacle that they have right now, this administration is actually deciding when and where to actually enforce the law. And that's what some of us in the House are concerned about. If you give to this administration the authority to decide when they're going to enforce the law, how they're going to enforce the law, and you tell them that it's okay if they decide if there's going to be 20,000 troops or if there's going to be, 20,000 Border Patrol agents, or it's okay, or they get to determine when the border is secure, I can tell you that Janet Napolitano has already said that the border is secure. So what's going to happen is that we're going to give legalization to 11 million people, and Janet Napolitano is going to come to Congress and tell us that the border is already secure and nothing else needs to happen.
Gene Robinson is the roundtable is still here. Take this on. I mean, you've had John McCain, who just a few years ago was doing campaign ads saying, secure this darn border first, who's saying that Congressman Labrador and anyone who cites insufficient security at the border is just looking for a way to kill this bill, and that it's not a credible opposition.
Well, if you actually look at what's been going on the border, I mean, the border is much more secure than it has been in the past, and there are those who will argue there will never be an impregnable fortress wall between the United States. It's a 2,000-mile long border, and what the House Republicans seem to be demanding is something that no one can deliver. So what's the point of that? I think, look, this is, it seems to me, a pretty good compromise from their point of view, because they do get 20,000 new Border Patrol agents and a lot of bells and whistles that weren't there before.
And a long path to citizenship for those who are here illegally. It's a pretty arduous process.
They are here. You know, I've seen a lot of intellectually weak cases in this town. I've rarely seen as intellectually weak case as the case against the Senate immigration bill. The Republicans say they want to reduce illegal immigration. The Congressional Budget Office says the Senate bill will reduce it by 1/3 to 1/2. They say they want economic growth. All the top conservative economists say it'll produce economic growth. They say they want to reduce the debt. CBO says it will reduce the debt. All the big major objectives the Republicans stand for, the Senate immigration bill will do. And so the other things they're talking about are secondary and tertiary issues, whether we get 86% border protection or 90%. Compared to the big things this bill does, they're minuscule. mystified by what they...
Congressman, respond to David Brooks on that.
I'm sorry, but what I just heard was totally ridiculous. If you listen to what the CBO said, they said that it's going to be between a 1/3 and 50% reduction in illegal immigration. That means that every 5 years we're going to have to do another Reagan amnesty. What the American people want is a secure border. They understand that there is going to be economic growth, and I agree that there's going to be economic growth when you have immigration reform. That's why I'm a big proponent of immigration reform. But for somebody to sit here on national TV and say that it is actually a weak argument for us to argue that we want something like 90% security, I think it's actually beyond the pale. What we need to do, look at just one thing. There's two components of the law that we need to change. For example, the ICE agents have told us that if they could work with the local cities, with the local law enforcement agents, they would be much more effective in securing our interior. The Democrats do not want any local enforcement of immigration laws. We do it with drug laws. We do it with all these other things that where we have these task forces between the federal and state and local agencies. And the Democrats do not want to do with immigration. We could do that, and we could curtail a lot of the illegal immigration. There's a lot of other things that we can do to make this law stronger.
David, respond to
that. The CBO said it would reduce it by 1/3 to 50%. And what I hear the congressman saying is he won't support it unless it's 100%, because we'd have to go back and do a Reagan.
That's not what I say. Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay, well, let me say the current law produces this X much illegal immigration. This law cuts it significantly. It's better than the current law. Generally, when something is better than what we got, generally you want to support that thing.
All right, let me take a quick break here, come back, talk more about the politics of this that's impacting a lot of these House members, even the Senate supporters of this as well. Back with our roundtable and some of these hot button issues right after this.
Meet the Press.